What's up, beer seekers? Brandon and Steve here for BeerSighted, and we are back with another episode of Industry Insiders. And tonight, we've got an awesome one on tap for you. We are chatting with Tony, Zach, and Ryan from Bent Water Brewing Company right down the road from us in Lynn, Massachusetts. Guys, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be here tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Normally when we do these things, we are talking with like one, maybe two people, but because we got three of you guys on, we're super lucky tonight. That's awesome. So can we just go around and just start and say what your roles are with Bent Water, and then we'll dive into it. So Ryan, you want to kick us off?
Sure. So I'm the head of sales at Bentwater, so I oversee all the sales guys and our distribution channels.
Awesome. How about you, Zach?
I'm Zach. I'm one of the brewers here at Bentwater. I've been here since about 2018.
Awesome. And Tony, how about you?
I'm the other brewer at Bentwater. So I'm the newest brewer on the team. I started in July of 2020. Getting to start mid-pandemic was super cool. So I'm glad, Bentwater was busy enough to have to bring on another brewer these times.
So what's that like, starting off during a pandemic and jumping into the brewing industry?
Really good because, I was looking for a brewing job, and it's kind of hard to find during the pandemic. But it's been great. I mean, we're mostly like distribution focused and not really taproom focused. So we're kind of built to survive this kind of thing. So never really slowed down, kept filling tanks and pumping out cans.
There you go. Yeah, that's a perfect setup for the unfortunate time we had to go through. So where do you guys distribute beyond Massachusetts and New England? Where do you guys distribute?
Yeah. So we before the pandemic hit, we were fully launched in Massachusetts and the state of New Hampshire. We self-distribute sort of eastern part of Massachusetts. So Newburyport, we sort of border Worcester, and then all the way out to one of our trucks was in Provincetown today. That being said, we had to sort of, we hate to use the word pivot, but we did have to pivot off of our business plan. And we figured, what's a better place to start distributing to than Florida, right? So they didn't sort of have a pandemic down there. So it worked out pretty good for us. And, since then we sort of started to grow. As far as our distribution arm, we are in New Jersey. We're in Eastern Pennsylvania, and we literally just signed with Vermont last week, Maine next week.
Wow.
We're in Rhode Island. So we're in Ohio, and that's sort of strategic because our president, Aaron Reams, is from Ohio. So we're kind of trying to penetrate his backyard. So it was just something that we thought was a good plan to do during the pandemic. Look at Boston even right now, the financial district. You name one of our top accounts was Slate Bar on High Street, and they used to order 10 to 15 half barrels every single week. And at this point, they're back open, but they're doing like one a month. So it's not the same as it was. So we're sort of working from that. We've learned a lot, but I think we're doing a pretty good job out of 18 breweries that produce over 6,000 barrels per year in Massachusetts. We were one of 3 breweries that actually showed growth last year. So that was a good thing.
Wow. That kind of goes back to, having already been distribution focused. It seems like that really made a big difference for you guys. And so when you get into a new area, like you guys get into Florida, or when you're ready to go in Maine, or whatever it is, do you start off slow when you're in these new areas with like maybe a couple of your big name beers, or like how do you guys launch into a new space?
It's a good question. We mainly launch with our 3 big IPAs: Sluice Juice, Thunderfunk, and Double Thunderfunk. And for the first 3 months, when you land into a new state, I mean, think about it. When you guys go to a liquor store or a bar, you're always looking for what's new, what's different. So the first 2 to 3 months are very easy. People come in, they say what's new, but then that's when the work starts to happen, where 90 days in, we need to do stuff, whether it's sending beer to influencers, or sponsoring some events, or doing some festivals to just get people to taste your beer. Boots on the ground has been difficult during the pandemic. Because we're sort of cautious on hiring somebody to be down in that area, and it's just tough to manage that. So we've thought of a lot of strategic ways to sort of grow those distribution arms, but it's tough. It's an extremely competitive marketplace, right? When we started back in late 2015, there were 84 breweries in Massachusetts. Now there's over 300. There were 3,000 breweries in the country. Now I think there's just under 10,000 now. A lot did shut down over the pandemic, but at one point, in 2018, there was over 10,000 breweries. So it's pretty interesting.
So how do you go through a pandemic like that and still, like you said, continue that growth that you guys are on? Because I know that, when you kind of limit or cut almost entirely your in-person sales, I know that probably hinders you a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we showed growth because we signed on to a lot of different states, but we did it strategically, and it was a slow growth model because it's still a very, very localized industry where you want to support local. You guys are in Salem, there's a couple breweries there. There's 4 breweries in Beverly, that sort of thing. So everyone shops local, stays local. So that's something that's very big. It's easy to have a big pickup, a big 18-wheeler back up and load pallets of beer onto the truck and say, see you later, go get them, fellas. But where we have sort of grown in our what we call our core territory is really the North Shore, Boston, South Shore, is doing a lot of local things. And maybe we can have Zach talk about our Lynn Tribute series that is a beer that we sort of rotate through. Why don't you talk about that, Zach?
Yeah, so I love the city of Lynn. I actually live about 5 minutes from the brewery, and there's a lot of cool stuff and just in looking up beer names and whatever, I learned something new about the city of Lynn every time. And it's like, it was a lot of things before it was the city of sin. And we in thinking about that, we, over the last year, have every other month released a different take on a New England IPA inspired by and named after some local landmark. Yeah, you're drinking the Dungeon Rock right now. Dungeon Rock's actually one of my favorite places in the Lynn Woods. That's actually, of the series, that's probably my favorite one. This one that just came out, Dungeon Rock. If you find it, it's super delicious.
It's very good.
But
right.
the Dungeon Rock's cool, man. It's in the middle of the Lynn Woods, and it's up at the top of a big hill. Cave goes way deep down. There's a whole story about a pirate treasure and all. It's wicked cool.
No kidding. All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And the last few that we've done, all kinds of stuff about Lynn. Like the last one was Cross Current, about the beautiful Lynn Shore and the beaches we have down there.
Oh, yeah.
That was probably my favorite label, with the waves. That was a great beer too. I think, they've been doing well enough. I think we're definitely releasing another one for December. Ryan, do we have a name for that one yet?
So we don't have a name, but it's actually a really cool, interesting story. And it's sort of worlds collide and everything lined up. So I grew up a hockey player, and coincidentally, my neighbor's the assistant hockey coach at Boston University. And so we had the opportunity to present to BU to become the official craft beer partner of the Agganis Arena. And we landed that deal. And so it's sort of, then we talked about our Lynn Tribute series, and we're saying, hey, what are we going to do for our final beer for the year? And actually tomorrow I'm meeting with the Agganis family, because Harry Agganis he wasn't a hockey player, but he was a stud football and baseball player, and he's from Lynn. So it just kind of worked out. And we're going to, I don't know what the name of the beer is, but we're going to meet with the Agganis family. We're going to probably give some proceeds to their foundation for it. And it's sort of all, it's worlds colliding, and it's sort of, it's pretty exciting. And, if you go to the BU hockey games where it's basically Bentwater and Budweiser there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Pretty good company.
Craft beer. Exactly. Yeah. Craft beer is such a big thing, even among younger crowds.
Yeah.
These days. When I was in college, which wasn't that long ago, but craft beer it wasn't something I was going for, that's for sure.
When I was in college, I was on the first wave of craft beer. I went to school in Vermont, and that's when Magic Hat, Otter Creek, Catamount.
Oh, yeah.
Catamount Amber Ale was where it was at back in 1998.
Oh, you're really thinking
Drinking growlers in number 9, listening to Fish up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's too funny.
with you mentioned Dungeon Rock, the latest release in the rotational series. Want to give our listeners, either Tony or Zach, whichever one of you guys or both, want to talk a little bit about this beer. And Zach, you mentioned it as being one of your favorites of the series. I think it's delicious. Brandon thinks it's delicious. What do we got here in this can of Dungeon Rock?
What do you think, Tony? You did most of that one.
So yeah, with our rotating IPA series, it's been basically the same malt bill. And it's just gonna be, a pretty standard New England IPA hazy recipe. And like where we've kind of had the fun is adding the different hops to it. So this one, we decided to go where a couple of the past ones were going a little more experimental. This one was kind of just playing the hits. Our first one we did in the series, Supercharger, was like a giant success. So we wanted to do hops that are similar, not the same, but just as popular. So this one was what, Citra, Simcoe, and Michigan Copper.
Yeah.
So we got the Citra and the Simcoe. It's gonna get all the hype boys going. The classics, and then Michigan Copper. It's starting to rise in popularity. It's been pretty cool to get a lot of that.
Yeah, we used that with our collaboration with Channel Marker, and we really enjoyed what that brought to the table. So yeah, I think that's going to be the new hotness, that hop. You're going to start to see that popping up a lot.
That's going to be the Mosaic from 2014.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's funny you say that too, because I was just talking to Steve earlier today, and I was like, I think Supercharger was, up until this, probably my favorite of the series. So now that makes so much sense that it's all come full circle.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Michigan Copper, that's one. I mean, I haven't heard that one come up too much. Are you guys a little ahead of the game in getting that out there, or is it becoming a little bit more, I don't know, trendy? I don't want to use that word, but is it?
I think I've only seen maybe 1 or 2 other breweries using those Michigan hops. When we did the Channel Mark collaboration, we did that, Emerald Spire, and I believe Citra. But yeah, the Emerald Spire and the Michigan Copper, we had never used either of them before. And from the description, the Michigan Copper really shone through. But I've only seen, maybe 1 or 2 other breweries using it so far.
Interesting.
We'll see it more. I mean, the flavor there, it's pretty like undeniable to hit those hazy New England desirable flavor notes.
Cool. That's super interesting. You mentioned doing a collaboration with Channel Marker. Channel Marker is somebody we've had on with us before, actually twice. Justin, one of the founders, Justin, joined us for the standard interview like we're doing here, but then also we got him and JP from Lost Shoe out in Hudson or Marlboro to join, because they had a collab beer they wanted to talk about. So collaborating, we find it so interesting how breweries, I mean, it's like one of few industries where everyone's just like, oh, there's a brewery nearby, let's work with them, not try to kick their ass or like try to
absolutely
bring them down as a business. I find that so interesting. And where you guys are located in Lynn, obviously there's a number, Ryan, you mentioned it, Beverly, Salem, there's a brewery in Peabody, there's breweries everywhere, it seems like, especially in this area of the world. Do you guys find that challenging to have so much around, or is it something you've just enjoyed and kind of taken in that, that part of the experience?
I think I can kind of lead this. It's something where, it's a very competitive industry, but at the end of the day, if we get into a little fight, we'll just crack a beer and settle it out, right? So, and I'm pretty good buddies with Tim over at Channel Marker, and there's a lot of different business models, and in talking to Tim, they're a lot smaller than us. They have some really good New England IPAs. They have some really good sours. I mean, I think they were recognized in what was it, Forbes magazine, as one of like the breweries that you should be looking at. But they didn't have the capacity to do something. And I think we actually, you mentioned that we used Michigan Copper in that collaboration, but it was something that he was just totally psyched to be able to can the beer and have it on on the shelves at places like Cappy's and some local
Yeah.
liquor stores, and we had it on tap at a bunch of different places, and
Yep.
it was just kind of cool. So we've done a lot of collaborations. We've only done a couple with actual breweries, but we do a lot of collaborations with whether it's in the arts or music or that sort of thing. So we've dabbled in that, and we want to try. I talked about it's very important to be local, and one of the things that we're trying to do is when we launch in different states is to collaborate with a brewery in that state.
Yeah.
Help I think it helps us sort of launch that brand, and then we will welcome the offer back to Massachusetts as well. So that's kind of our strategy there.
That's a great
That's what we
strategy.
did
Yeah, I love
with,
that.
as we did with Channel Marker too. We did a collaboration with them a couple of years ago that we did there. That was a super small draft only, super good. It was called I think it was Beauties of Land and Sea, which is the title of an article about the North Shore from like 100 years ago. We all thought it was super cool. And then we were super excited to have the opportunity to have them come to us and do a larger scale collaboration, get it out in cans. That beer was tremendous. And that was for a New England IPA. I kept drinking it even like 6 months after canning. I was like, wow, this is still good. Like this is still hanging on. That was kind of why we wanted to use those Michigan copper hops again, because like that flavor and aroma just held on.
Is that something? So that was obviously not something you were expecting with that version of hops. That's super interesting.
Yeah, that beer stayed good. Yeah.
Huh.
But that's also a testament to how we operate at Bentwater. I mean, we invest a lot of time, money, resources, and people into our quality assurance, quality control. When we started back in, we started brewing in November of 2015, and we started distributing, December, January of that year. And, I was one of the original employees at the company, and I was talking to, our main owner, and I said, dude, what are you getting a seam check analyzer for? Why are we using these? This costs $15,000. This costs $12,000. I'm like, bro, I need some coasters and stickers to give to accounts. But little did I know, a couple of years later, when we started to reach out to distributors, specifically a really big distributor that we wound up actually signing an agreement with them. They came to the brewery and they wanted to see our lab because he said to me, he said, listen, dude, anyone can brew really good hazy IPAs with a Gatorade cooler and a lobster pot in their garage, but you scale that up and it's not just a multiplier. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. Everything goes wrong at a brewery, right? So, that was little did I know that actually having such an investment in QA/QC was my number one sales tool, where, I was kind of stomping my feet in the early days, but it's, you learn. And I'll tell you, if any brewery says that, our liquid's strong right from the beginning and it's just gotten better and better and better, they're lying to you.
Well, Brian, so you said you're one of the original employees there, and obviously going back to 2015, kind of not before really, during and some of this boom during this craft industry, and obviously building on the North Shore, you see so many of these breweries popping up over the last 3-4 years, and I know just reading from your website, it has a lot to do with the water in the area. So is that something that people kind of gravitate to in the brewing industry? Is that something that kind of helped you found Bent Water in Lynn, Massachusetts?
Yeah, I mean, so you specifically talk about the water. It was back in 1978, I believe. Speaker McGee and his son's actually the mayor of Lynn now. He's stepping down and he's retiring, but he was pretty good friends with Jimmy Carter. And believe it or not, there were crooked politics back then as well. And somehow, shocking, right? Somehow there was a federally funded water treatment facility in Lynn. So, you said somebody had mentioned the city of sin, that sort of thing, but Lynn's private water source, it ranks in the top 10 every single year. And the brewers Zach and Tony can talk to this more, but water is so important. It's between 93 and 97% of the ingredient of beer, right? So that goes back to some of the English beers and Pilsner in the Czech Republic and German beers, that sort of thing. So it's very, very important. We don't really alter our water all that much, but with technologies, you can do that. But I mean, it's it's a really good thing that our water source is so supreme. And there was an article, and we're actually going to do a beer next year with, I forget the amount of breweries, but it's like, I think it's like 9 or so breweries
Yeah,
that
all across the Essex water.
all
that's
across
cool.
the Essex watershed, and we're all doing a beer because that watershed is actually an endangered, I don't know if you call it an endangered species, but it's in trouble right now. So it's a very interesting and sort of fun story to follow.
So it's just gonna be one like massive collaboration between all of you guys. Like you're gonna
Everyone's
like,
gonna be brewing their
Everybody
own
who's on the
version.
watershed.
Yeah.
Tony, were you saying everyone's gonna be brewing their own version?
Yeah, it's gonna be like the same recipe, but everyone's gonna be making, their version of it.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a standard label, right? It's somebody, it's like an artist drew some, like a guy in a canoe, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Gotcha.
So mentioning the label, to shift gears a little bit here, I saw on your website that you guys have won a few awards recently, and I think there was one for label art, there was one for like your website marketing, and there were a couple for good tasting beer, which is obviously really important. But it was a pretty cool list that you guys had up there. Kind of covers the whole span of what you guys are doing. Can you talk a little bit about those? We're super interested in like label art. For example,
Yeah.
Brandon and I will go to the store and
Checking out this one too.
I'll let these guys talk to it, but I have a coffee mug that says #1 dad, so I got that award, right?
There you go. Yes. That's another
You
award.
do, Ryan.
We're lucky that all of our, can design and stuff, it's all done in-house. It's Mike Shaughnessy, he's one of our founders. You can read all about him on the website. So he does the designs and all of that. He definitely works his full-time gig. He's not full-time doing this, but it's pretty nice. Whenever we're coming out with a new beer and stuff like that, we can just kind of throw him a softball, and we just know he's going to knock it out. Everything's kind of in like the same theme, where they're all little like optical illusion-esque. Like the Boris has that little like spider webby thing going on, and the Thunderfunk's got that vertigo, like coming and going. But yeah, we definitely enjoy those. It's definitely going to pop on the shelves. We still have our logo front and center. It's going to keep it familiar and recognizable amongst the billions of other craft brands.
And I mean, you guys know this, the labels are huge. And like I said, it's such a competitive industry. You got to have something that pops on the shelves, and they'll buy it. Maybe that's 50% of the reason why they buy it. But you need them coming back for more. So labels are super, super important. And I think that ours are, Mike wanted to make them move. And he actually, when he created Thunderfunk, Tony had mentioned it, he actually got vertigo and he had to see a doctor about it.
No kidding.
Kind of crazy. So, we have a YouTube channel. So I'd love for you guys to check out and the visitors to check out our YouTube channel, which gives, a good history of the brewery and some cool insight to that. We did that during the pandemic, and that was actually another reason, getting back to selling to distributors without having sort of boots on the ground. That was a sort of an added way to say, hey, you know what? Let's give you a virtual tour on our YouTube channel and talk about our brewery and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's super cool. We'll drop a link to the YouTube channel down in the description of this video below. So absolutely go ahead and check that out. That's super cool. So you mentioned talking about the arts and everything, and you guys, you want to try and have these labels that pop, have the names that pop. I can tell you for sure, when I go buy beer, that's one of the things that I'm looking for too. If it comes down to like, oh, I've got a couple of New England IPAs that I want to try here that are on the shelf in front of me, probably going to go for the one with the name that pops the most or the label that pops the most. Yeah. That makes sense to me. But and Steve and I were also talking earlier about, speaking of those labels, that we love the look of the premium lager, because we just, it reminds us immediately of like something our dads would drink like back in the day.
That's exactly what we're trying to do, Brandon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Push it so
You
hard.
absolutely nailed it. I love the reaction. That's great. Yeah.
We were talking to Mike Shaughnessy about that, and just being like, we were just emailing him like Schlitz and Schaefer and
Schlitz
all
was
those
the
like,
first thing that came to mind. Like, I don't even know what a Schlitz can look like. I've just heard people talk about it.
oh yeah.
And
That
that
was
was
the
like
whole-
my
Even in the copy, we were saying, we were like premium American lager.
Yeah,
and like,
yeah,
like choicest hops and finest malt and like, just
If
that
only we could
classic,
get
like Mad Men, like 1950s. Like, yeah.
I
If
had
only
one,
we
I
could
had
get
one
the
of my
square
buddies.
top
I had one of my buddies say that the label, it just reminded him of Schlitz, Lucky Strike cigarettes, and Trojan condoms. And I don't know if that was
What
a
a
good
combo.
thing, but I loved it.
What
It
a
sounds
That's the
like
trio
Ryan
of
Nestor
things.
special.
Sounds like it was pretty much what you guys were aiming for. So I guess
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
that's so
With
good.
the beer, the name, and the label. All
But it was
came
tough
together on that
because
one.
I think it's a classic looking label, but it still has that sort of Bentwater branding to it, where a lot of our stuff's a little psychedelic. Here's our porter Jolene with the rings and everything. So I think he did a really, really good job of doing that. And that's something, I'm as a sales guy for the company, I'm always taking credit. Everyone says, your labels are great and your beer's so good. And I don't have anything to do with any of those things. I've never brewed in my life, and I can barely when I color with my daughter, I can't even keep the crayons in between the princesses, so it's fun to take credit on that stuff, but I shouldn't.
Yeah, man, you're the one giving it to the people, at least since I've been here.
Yeah, somebody's got to do that part too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't hate on yourself too much there. That's it.
Hey, Nestor, Ryan, I'll tell you what. My friend texted me from Ohio the other day, and he said he found the premium lager and the equivalent exchange IPA at a gas station. So you're doing something right.
There you go.
That's good, right?
Yeah, man.
That's it. That's awesome. So it seems like we figured out what everyone's favorite can is. So excited about the lager. I love that. But so if we had to, this is always the most challenging question, and we ask it every time. It's a very simple question, but no one's ever able to give us a straight answer, or very rarely. I want to know, each of you guys, what is your favorite beer that you guys brewed? Usually we get a long list of everything that the brewery has, and then they narrow it down to like 4. But it's very rare that we get one from somebody. So I want to go around the horn and see which Bentwater beer is your favorite. We can, Zach, we can start with you.
All right, I definitely cannot give a straight answer. But like, I'll
That's
give you
okay.
2 answers. Okay, there's
Close enough.
out of rotating beers, my favorite that we do is Fire Barrel. It's a like old school, like late 90s, early craft beer boom, like rye, crystal malt, Cascade, Fuggles. It's like bitter, amber. That's a great beer. Year-round premium lager, I drink a lot of. It's just clean, balanced, easy to drink, but it's just got enough flavor that like every 3 or 4, you're like, oh yeah, that is a really good beer. Yeah, that's a pretty easy answer. It's 2 beers.
That was good. Yeah, that was actually very, very reasonable relative to some of our other. And I get it. Like we always, it's like, it's your child or project or whatever you want to call it. So great, good. And how about you, Tony? Let's jump over to you.
I might get it a little more complicated than Zach.
It's okay, by the way. I didn't mean to like say like, you have to do like, go nuts if you want. Just in general, it's kind of fun to ask the question.
So I definitely drink a ton of premium lager. Maybe it's just like a brewer thing. It's the brewers love the crispy boys. We love the lagers, but that is just like a perfect interpretation of the style. So that's probably my favorite year-round beer, that we're constantly pumping out. I think for like rotating seasonal, it has to be the Jolene, that Nestor's drinking there, Ryan. And it's just another, like, it's no adjuncts added. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're just doing a classic style well. And I think that's a lot of what Bentwater does. It's going to be your classic American porter. It's going to be, roasty. It's going to be relatively low ABV at like 5.5%. And that beer is incredible. We actually brewed that today for the first time this year, and I'm super excited for it to come out. And we also, now that our tap room's been open for a couple months, for favorite beers, it's like we're coming out with a new favorite beer every couple weeks. Zach and I have been able to fire up our small batch system. Instead of doing things on a large scale, we're getting to, have fun and do brewer things instead of, just pumping out our production brands. But we got cool European style lagers and stuff like that, and more experimental stuff.
That's cool. So quick question, just to sidetrack for a second, the experimental stuff. Do you guys, do you go into that and say, let's just try this. If it works, we'll release it. If not, whatever, we could try it. We had fun trying to make it, whatever. Or do you go into it? Obviously you go into it hopefully planning for it to be something you like, but do you guys always release what you're experimenting with?
We kind of set ourselves up with success because, craft beer has been around long enough that we have a relatively good idea on what is and isn't going to work. And when I'm saying experimenting, we're not putting candy corn and, Halloween candy into the kettle and stuff like that. I know plenty.
That would make a killing in Salem, by the way.
That's never really been our shtick, so we're not really going to go that route. But we kind of just like to experiment with classic styles. Like Zach did a rye lager a couple weeks ago. We just did a saison. We have a Czech dark lager, and it's nice to brew things that we don't normally brew in-house for an experiment, rather than trying to, create fire for the first time.
Right. And it's R&D. If it sucks, we'll dump it. That's part of the process, right?
Yeah. Just hasn't happened yet.
Liar isn't the intention. That's good. All right, and Ryan, over to you for the.
So I'm the sales guy. I'm going to give you straight out premium lager, and here's the reason why. And I agree with Tony. I'm drinking Jolene right now, and I think Jolene is probably our best beer. I think it's a light porter. It's got notes of cashew, nuts, chocolate, coffee, but it's easy drinking, and I really think, don't look at the color, it's probably our most approachable beer, but I think year round it's premium lager for me. And why is that? Hopped beer. I'm starting to get a little bit more into West Coast IPAs, but I'm just kind of sick of New England IPAs. I always try our new stuff, but I was serious when you had showed me at the beginning that you had Dungeon Rock. I haven't actually even tried that beer yet. I've sold some of it. I haven't tried it yet, but it's and I will try it. But for me, it's just premium lager. I just think that it's such a crisp, clean beer. It's so drinkable, and I just really, really love that beer, and Jolene as well. So I hate to be boring and carbon copy what Tony said, but it's coming from the heart. But out when we're selling, it's I think that we have a very, very good portfolio to be not only seasonal, but to be situational. There's a beer for the golf course, there's a beer for the beach, there's a beer when you're skiing, there's a beer for Florida, there's a beer for Ohio. And I think it's a lot of situations where you drink different beers. I always make the joke, we have a beer, Double Thunder Funk, which is it's a 9.2%, really, really good beer. And, I don't necessarily always do this, but I do. I say it's my in-law beer. Whenever my in-laws come over, I drink Double Thunder Funk, and I make sure they drink it too. And, that's just kind of a selling story, but it's, trust me, sometimes it's true.
Yeah. It's funny about you bringing up the situations in which you would drink the different types of beers. The premium lager, I don't even know why I remember this, but I vividly remember making the decision on Super Bowl Sunday last year. I was like, yes, I saw the premium lager, and it just looked like exactly what I wanted for the long day of Super Bowl Sunday drinking.
It's the classic label, pigskin. Yeah. Let's get some chicken wings going. Let's drink a couple of premium lagers. Absolutely.
Hit the nail on that.
Yeah,
that's all it is. That's right.
Yeah, that's a great beer for cooking on the grill.
Yeah,
but it's all I had a fire the other day and sitting by that, drinking it too. It just that's an everyday beer. That's a fridge beer right there. Is what it is.
This is turning into a premium lager Fan Fest. Which
I
I'm
know.
very well.
That's what I'm going to go for next. Just for
Heavily
talking to you
promoting.
guys. That's what I'm going for next after this. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Kind of want to jump back to the collaboration beer that you guys talked about earlier with Channel Marker, and just, not necessarily focusing just on that one, but I'm curious if you guys see, like, so obviously, IPAs and specifically New England IPAs is kind of like the hot trend in the beer industry. And I feel like over the last, maybe it's just emerging from the pandemic, you see a lot more collaborations among breweries themselves or breweries with, other entities that are kind of maybe outside the beer industry. Are collaborations and like the one that you did with Channel Marker, is that something that is going to be a trend that continues and takes off even more in the craft beer world? And do you guys see it being something that Bentwater continues to do down the road?
I mean, I think we're definitely going to continue the trend of collabs, but it might not be with breweries. There's obviously still going to be those kind of things, but I feel like, even pre-pandemic, when the collabs really started booming, I feel like a lot of breweries like really kind of beat it into the ground, and it lost its like exclusiveness, where it's like, you're no longer getting, the collab from your favorite brewery with a brewery across the country. It's like now they're collabing with everyone. And we've done a lot of collabs that Ryan mentioned earlier that are outside of the beer world. I'm actually drinking one right now. It's Still Gold.
Just had that one the other day.
Incredible, super crispy German pills, slight bitterness, got all the goods that you want in that kind of beer. But this was a collab with a Boston rap group, that Brandon, one of our sales reps, has a relationship with. And it was great because it was the first time I've been part of something like this where, we brew this beer that they wanted us to brew, basically. They're like, let's do like a golden kind of beer, and then we'll come to a hip hop show at your spot. So it was electric. We had the stage, we had DJs, we had them playing, we had food vendors. Like it was an electric time. And then we have coming out soon, we're doing our Imperial Stout Relic, but we're doing a variation with Atomic Roasters based out of Salem.
Yep.
So that's another, outside of the beer world collab that, we're going to be super excited about. We did it last year and it was one of our highest rated beers. So yeah, let's do it again. Run it back.
That beer was
I think what
absolutely delicious.
going with it, we just got to. It's such a competitive industry that you got to be very strategic at how you're doing your collaborations, and there's got to be something, whether it's another brewery or whether it's an artist or a performing artist or somebody in the sports world. Everyone's got to kind of win. We have to be unique, and it's all about strategy right now, because it's a flooded marketplace, but there's still opportunities to innovate and make sure that you can kind of land on the other side ahead of the others.
And that's something I'm sure a lot of people that are outside the brewing industry looking in don't even realize, is that, it's all a strategic thing that you're trying to do. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's about obviously brewing great beer. And yeah, you have to think about those strategy deals on the side as well.
But it's so much planning that goes into it. I mean, you think about brewing a beer with Atomic Coffee. I mean, that was a no-brainer. We know those guys. They're good to us. We're good to them. But you got to come up with the label. You got to come up with the recipe. There's a big long process that comes about, and we're talking about multiple months before anything that can happen. If you want to make a large scale and send it to a bunch of different states, then add a couple more months to that. So it takes a long time to do those collaborations. There's a lot of planning that goes everything from hop agreements and contracts. What do we got? Because yeast, that sort of thing, and then marketing, the label, that. So there's we're kind of three businesses. We're a manufacturing company, we're a tap room, and we're a distribution company. So there's a lot of shapes, sizes, ages, and that sort of thing at our brewery. So it's and then that's the same at every brewery, right? So there's a lot of teamwork that's involved to make sure that things go smoothly.
Yeah.
So then, taking a step back from that and looking at a bigger picture, what do you guys see Bentwater doing over the next couple of years? Obviously, you said the expansion into some of these other states. Is there another bigger picture for Bentwater going forward?
Oh, we're in financial trouble. We're actually filing Chapter 11 next week.
Why did we have you on here?
No, so
I
our
smiled, but
strategy.
just in case that was true. I
No,
won't
no,
take the
it's
biggest
not true.
jerk.
I wouldn't have said it if it was true. Well, I mean, we're in 9 states right now, or we're about to be in 9 states. We shipped beer to Vermont yesterday. We're shipping beer to Maine next week, but I think we're going to hold tight for a little bit, and we're going to sort of, penetrate into the states that we're in. We don't want to expand too quickly. Like any business, you don't want to grow too fast, or things like your liquid the quality would decrease, you're spread too thin, that sort of thing. So I think we're going to hold tight with the 9 states that we're with right now, but we'd love to be a national brand at some point. But we're super pumped to just be a regional brewery at this point.
I love it. Well, listen, as a UNH grad, super happy for you guys about the BU deal in the Aganis Arena. That sounds awesome.
But go Cats, go Cats.
There we go.
I was gonna say, are you
That's-
super happy about that, or are you upset because you're a UNH?
I have to be outwardly happy for them. So yeah.
But
that's
Money
cool.
Nose has a UNH beer. Did you know that?
Yes, I did. Yeah,
Yeah.
I graduated UNH too late after they implemented their brewing program. They have a brewing major now.
Right.
So
right.
I left college a little too early, I guess. I graduated too early. So
You didn't leave.
Tell me about the
Unfortunately,
worst
you're
thing that you did at Libby's.
Oh no, not on camera.
All right, fair enough.
I didn't go to UNH, but I went to Libby's more than enough times to understand what you mean by that.
Yeah, he gets the reference. That's
Yes.
for sure.
That's the kind of place it is.
Well, listen, guys, before we get you out of here, let's let everyone know where they can find updates on Bentwater Brewing. Go online to find the latest information. Give out some social details while we got you here.
Tony, go get him.
Just gonna unmute real quick.
Yeah.
Instagram at Bentwater Brewing Company. Facebook, Bentwater Brewing Company. Ryan mentioned our YouTube channel. You guys are going to drop a link down there.
Yep.
And also, any questions that any listeners have, send them over to Ryan at bentwaterbrewingcompany.com, and his phone number is 978.
Oh, we had it.
We'll post that in the description as well. Well,
Well,
listen, guys,
It's funny
thank
that the reason why he's saying that is because we had a taproom manager that had left, and we use Comcast for all of our phone, internet, and that sort of thing. And the only number that you can get through to our taproom right now connects to my cell phone. So it's
Well, so it's funny you say that.
Pandemic struggle.
Funny you say that, because I stopped into the tap room today to grab some of these wonderful beers that the guys arranged for me, and your new taproom manager was on the phone with Comcast, making sure that no more voicemails went to you. Apparently, I didn't realize that.
Yep. I asked her to do
I heard
that.
the conversation happening. So it's true.
Not the most efficient strategy right there, I guess.
No, but that's, coming out of the pandemic, if that's our biggest problem, then I'm okay with that.
That's a great point.
That's very, very true. Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, everyone, check out Bentwater Brewing online, on social media. Go to the tap room in Lynn if you get a chance. We're definitely going to be in very, very soon. Find our stuff on our website, BeerSighted.com. Continue to check out our other video content on YouTube, BeerSighted Media. We're also on social media at BeerSighted Pod for all of our latest updates. Guys, again, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight and chat. It was awesome. Cheers. Looking forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers, fellas.
Thanks,
Great
guys.
stuff.